Hi guys, welcome to Art of the Arrow. My name's Michael and today I'm going to be showing you my Azalea Blitz deck tech. Everything that I've been using for the Skirmish season, what has managed to get me a top 4 spot, and in an Armoury with some pretty big prizing has managed to get me into the top 2 spot with it as well. Not only did I do that, but I also managed to do it without actually having red in the ledger in the deck. I accidentally sided it out, so let's dive right into it. So, Azalea, once per turn action, put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. If you do, put the top card of your deck face up into your arsenal. If it's an arrow card, it gains dominate until the end of turn with go again. 4 intellect, 20 health, pretty standard for a blitz hero, but if you manage to get some pretty nasty arrows dominated in that turn, you could be setting yourself up for victory in the next turn or maybe 2, depending. For the weapon, we're going with the good old Death Dealer, the spec of Azalea. Once per turn action, costing 1 resource. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. If you do, draw a card. It's brilliant. It's pretty much 5 intellect. If you get a blue card to pitch for it, even better. And it, like I say, you can have up to a 5 card hand essentially. Excuse me about that. 5 card hand, even 6 card hand if you already have a card in arsenal. Maybe you've Azalea'd into a go again card, or maybe a buff up that also has go again, but you're going to be hitting for a huge arrow turn this turn. But yep, like I said, Death Dealer, good old fashioned. There is a second choice which I would only use in sideboard, and that is Dreadbore. With Dreadbore, you're only going to be using this against the decks that are going to run a lot of defense reactions. Once per turn action, costing 1 as well. You may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. So this works with New Horizon. I'll show it on the screen here so you know what that means. If you do it, it gains +1 until the end of turn, go again. It's pretty much like a bullseye braces, except for you having to pay for it. But the main thing about this bow, arrows you control have defense reactions, can't be played from hand this chain link. So if you're going against someone who's stacked quite a high deck of defense reactions, I know Ivor was a bit of a thing, so that's the reason I put this into there. You're going to be wanting to run this bow. It is brilliant. It gives you bolting shots go again, and it's brilliant. I did do a deck list on basically Dreadbore, no Death Dealer. It's not as good, but it is good for sideboard against, like you say, a Fatigue Ivor. It was brilliant against Oldham. It was basically Azalea's ticket to actually beating them. But except from that, it is only in for those Fatigue decks essentially. Other than that, go for Death Dealer. For the headpiece, we're just running the one piece of equipment, Skullbone Cross Wrap, the trusty Azalea head equipment. Once per turn action, turn a face down card in your arsenal face up, opt 1, go again. So it's just leading up to Azalea's ability. Maybe you want to get a nice big arrow dominated, maybe you want to get rid of something in arsenal that you don't want there. It is brilliant. It has Arcane Barrier 1, so it's just a standard equipment to have in there, even against the arcane damaging heroes like Rune Blades and Wizards. And it has Blade Break 1. Everything with Ranger has Blade Break, of course it does. Why would you want to give it a Ranger card temper? Everything else has it almost. Oh, some Wizards are suffering. Anyway, back into the chess piece. You're going to be running 2 different chest pieces. The first one, that is the standard to put in, is Fyendal Spring Tunic. I'm showing the gold foil of this. It is just glorious, I have to. It's the generic chest piece with Blade Break 1. At the start of your turn, if Fyendal Spring Tunic has less than 3 energy counters, you may put an energy counter on it. Then, as an instant, you can remove 3 from it, the chest piece, and you gain a resource. So if you can get 3 turns from a match, you're going to be using this to either fire an arrow if you didn't quite have enough resources to load up and fire it, but also you can use this to give, it's got loads of different things to pay for. You can use this to block arcane, or you can use this to actually pay for an aim counter with Crow's Nest, which we'll come to in a second. But it is an absolute brilliant piece of equipment. I love it. But the only times you're not going to be running this is when you're going to be running Blossom of Spring. This is also in the sideboard. If you think that the match is not going to be quite running, maybe you're not going to get 3 turns, maybe you are, but you don't want to risk it, and you think the match is going to be over in possibly 2 turns, against Chain, against Kane or anything like that, you're going to be wanting to run this. It is destroy it as an action and you gain a resource, go again. It doesn't have any block on it. It does have a shield, so you can get around those T-bones from dash, but this is what you would run against the likes of Chain, Fi, something that you think it's not going to last too many turns, but you really want to try and get that resource going early and try and hit them hard as you can, possibly make them block it by firing some really key arrows against them. But I've got to be honest, this is a card that I got borrowed, I borrowed off a friend, so the deck slightly changed from the Skirmish, but if I knew about this card I would have ran it straight away and got one myself. It is brilliant. It would definitely stay in the deck for me for any further Blitz tournaments. For the arms, it's back, baby. Bullseye Braces. As an action, destroy Bullseye Braces. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. It gains +1 until the end of the turn. Go again, and it has Arcane Barrier. So you used to have natural AB against Rune Blades for the Rosetta Thorn, but they banned it in CC, but they haven't banned it in Blitz, so this one went straight back into my deck list. Of course you're going to run it, and this is the only arm piece you're going to be running. For the legs, you're going to be running 2 different pieces of equipment. The standard one for me is Snapdragon Scalers. This is leg equipment is an attack reaction. Destroy Snapdragon Scalers. Target attack action card with cost 1 or less gains go again. There's only 2 cards in this entire deck that does not cost 1 or less, but you're not going to be using it for that anyway. Those cards have key reasons that they're in the deck, but this one you're going to be using on anything that you could give yourself a go wide turn. You can use these to give yourself an insane turn in CC. It's even more insane in Blitz with less health, but yep, these are the standard ones that go in. But for the side equipment, you can have Perch Grapplers, which I've been running. These have Blade Break 2, which is essentially what these are there for. They're really just there for the block against the big hitters, against, you know, Brute Guardian, something that's going to smash your face for a lot of damage just with one attack. But if you are going to use them, which I have been using them for some reason, when I have the you know, the tempo in my favour and I've got the opponent on the back foot, it costs 2 to break them, and until the end of turn, face up arrow cards played from arsenal, gain go again, go again. So everything like from Endless Arrow or Pathan Helix, get go again, you get all the effects. You don't have to do anything extra to give them it, but like I say, it is essentially here just for the blocker. So I'd only run these against a handful of heroes, but in Blitz you do need as much block as possible. And again, it's Blade Break. Everything has Blade Break. And for the last bit of equipment, Crow's Nest. This is a fairly new piece of equipment that got released in Outsiders. It's the Azalea Specialization Quiver. Whenever an arrow is put face up into your arsenal from your deck, you may pay 1. If you do, put an aim counter on it. So things like Firedoll Spring Tunic, if you have that resource, you can use that to pay for this. And the aim counters do come in handy for a lot of different reasons. There's not too many in this deck, but there are key points where you really want to be paying for the aim counter, so I will explain it when we come to them cards. Now let's get into the fun part of the video, looking at the arrows we'll be using. Now for the first one, of course, it's Red in the Ledger, the Azalea Specialization. The reason that the title of this video is that Red in the Ledger is not needed, it's not that it wasn't in the deck, it's just because I'm an idiot and I sided them out, as in I have my CC deck and my Blitz deck next to each other, because obviously I'm not going to buy so many of the same cards. I'll just take it from there and then. But in Skirmish you had the rulings more like the classic constructed format. You can side out cards and side in cards. You didn't need 40 exactly, and for some reason I had 44 cards in and I did not have Red in the Ledgers in the deck, and I still managed to get into the top 4 spots. So you don't need Red in the Ledger as importantly in this deck as what you would all the other times, because a lot of people do rely heavily on this card. But it is still without a doubt the best card in the whole deck. Hits for 5, blocks for 3, costs 1. If Red in the Ledger hits a hero, they can't play or activate more than 1 action during their next turn. So you're going to be one to play this against everyone, even the ones who don't go as wide as the likes of Fire or Lexi. But hit anyone with this, they do not want to be hit by this, believe me. run 2 of them, obviously, and like I say, it wasn't needed in the first matchups, and the only time I struggled was against a chain who went on to go to win the whole of Skirmish, undefeated as well, I might add, and I managed to go 1-1 to him in the end. It was him on the front foot most of the time, but like I say, this was not needed in the deck as much, as more importantly as what you would actually think. Next up is Bolton Shot, costs 0, hits for 4 and blocks for 3. That is the red pitch. You're going to be running all 6 of these, so obviously the blue pitch will hit for 2. While Bolton Shot's attack is greater than its base, it has go again, and if this hits, reload. It really is important, this. You want to be arsenaling these as much as possible at the end of your turn. If you can try and set up a good turn with rain razors and these, it is absolutely insane how wild you can go. I did hit a Bravo for OTK back in ProQuest. I forget when it was, but I remember it was in Leeds. But Bolton Shots was the reason behind it. It's the go again and the on-hit reload. Run all 6 of these, and like I say, my strategy is to arsenal them, but you're free to do with whatever you think. Next up, we have one of the older majestic arrows, Remorseless. You want to run 2 of these, costs 1, hit for 5, blocks for 3. A standard, high hitting arrow. If Remorseless is put into your arsenal face up until end of turn, it gains defense reactions, can't be played from arsenal to Remorseless's chain link. This is a really good combination from with Dreadbore, because this stops them not only playing defense reactions from hand, they're going to want to try and put them into arsenal, and this will stop that dead in its track. So it's good against the fatigue decks, but also it's good against those go wide heroes. If Remorseless hits a hero until the end of their next turn, whenever they play an action card, they lose their life. So this includes Healing Palm if they're on 1 health. They play that, the Remorseless triggers first, you've won the game. Run these bad boys, why the fuck not? Next up, we'll have Sleep Dart, costs 1 again, hits for 5, blocks for 3. If Sleep Dart hits a hero, they lose all hero card effects and activated abilities until the end of their next turn. So you want to be hitting almost anyone with this, because a lot of the heroes do rely on their ability to get things their way, to manage to utilise their deck and utilise turns as efficiently as they can. Only one I would honestly say about siding this out against is Sleep Dart. That's the name of this arrow, ladies and gentlemen, is Dash, because her effect takes place at the start of the game. After that, she's pretty much Sleep Darted the rest of the game anyway. Next up, Infecting Shot, costs 1, hits for 5, blocks for 3. You want to be running the red ones of these, just like Sleep Dart that I forgot to mention. If Infecting Shot has an aim counter on it, it has +1. So that's where the aim counter start coming into play, because this will come in for 6 dominate if you have enough resources to pay. And when this hits a hero, create a Blood Rot Pox under their control. So a Blood Rot Pox token is Aura token that says the controller of this aura takes 2 damage unless they pay 3 resources. So against decks that don't use a lot of blue resources, blue cards for 3 resources or whatever, they are going to be taking 2 damage at the end of their turn. If you can combo this with a Remorseless, then it's going to be coming in for a lot of damage on their own turn, as well as you pushing that damage through from your own. So it can win you the games. It has won me the game. If you manage to hit them with this and they have no cards left to block with and go to 1 or 2 health, you have to just survive that one little attack or one whatever they're trying to do, and that'll win you the game completely. So Infecting Shot, brilliant. Also from Outsiders, I absolutely love this card, and if you look at the rainbow foil of that, it is sexy. This next arrow has a slightly different taste to it. Spy Sniping, a little bit of a different flavour all of a sudden, because everything else is on hit. Spy Sniping, you want to run the blue ones of these. It costs 1, blocks for 3, hits for 3 because it's a blue pitch. The red one obviously hits for 5, but it's not an on hit with this one is why you run it. This is when Spy Sniping is put or turned face up in Arsenal, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, then put them back in any order. You can set this up with the Skullbone turn, so you can flip this face up, opt whatever card, and if you don't like it, get rid of it. Then spiral trigger, and you look at the very next 2 cards. You can also finish the game completely if you manage to load this up, if it's your only arrow that you can, and you're trying to look for a dominate. You load this up with Death Dealer, draw a card, and then you look at the next 2 cards on the top of your deck. One of them could be an arrow that you know, contemplating a blind Azalea or whatever. This can honestly win you the game more times than you realise. Again, you want to run 2 of these, and the only reason I use the blue pitch is I don't really kind of rely on this one hitting or being fired, so it's nice to have the extra resources for anything you might need, and blue against wizard is always great. For the last arrow, Battering Bolt, it's the only arrow that costs 2 in the deck, hits for 6, blocks for 3. When Battering Bolt hits a hero, they reveal their hand and discard all cards other than action cards. Then they lose 1 life for each card discarded this way. So this is your day reacts instances, any gems or landmarks, and as well it's a really nice phantasm card against any illusionist players that you might go against. And if you use this as a combo with Dreadbore, and the fatigue playing hero has a whole hand of defense reactions the card use, you hit this for say a 7, and then they lose another 4 health for discarding every defense reaction in hand. And again, like I say, I've run 2 of these. It is nice against the likes of Warrior and Assassin as well for all the attack reactions they run. Now we're going to be moving on to the range and non-attacks. So first up, of course, Knock the Death Whistle, the other Azalea specialization card. Doesn't cost anything to play it, and it blocks for 3. It's a blue pitch, but the main thing for this card, you search your deck for an arrow, reveal it, you shuffle your deck, and it goes on top of your deck. You also get a reload from this, so if you don't have a card in your arsenal to set up an Azalea hero effect turn, then this lets you put one from hand into your arsenal slot as well as search for that arrow. So it sets everything up beautifully, and it gets exactly what you need at exactly the right time. Obviously you're going to run 2 of these. If you run 1 of these, I'm assuming that you just haven't got the other one. Next up, we'll have Codex of Frailty, and I have to show this marvel. It is such good artwork. It is the Assassin Ranger action, so it is 2 different classes, and it blocks for 2, costs nothing. It is yellow pitch. Each hero puts an action card from their graveyard face down into their arsenal. Each hero that does that discards a card. You don't have to discard a card if you don't have any left, so you could have a whole hand of buff ups and then have this in arsenal, and you can play all of those buff ups and then this, and then you can just get a free a 0 cost arrow like a Bolton shot, or if you run a drill shots or something like that, get that and you've got plus 12 on your next arrow to hit them back. Create a ponder token under your control. A ponder just pops, destroys itself, sorry, I always say pop, I'm very sorry, destroys itself, and you draw a card on your end phase, so you're always getting an arsenal slot. A frailty token under each opponent's control. I've never really played this in like a pit fight. I've always just done a one-on-one, but a frailty gives -1 attack to any weapons they use and any attack action cards they use from arsenal. It's perfect against everybody. It's such a good card, but if you use this against Lexi, this could save you from being hit for a lot of damage. It stops Bolton shots effect because with the Voltaire they're going to need another buff up to try and get its ability going. Next up is the Ranger Instant. Rain Razors gives all your arrows +2 while attacking this turn. So you can use this on a Bolton shot if you have one on arsenal, and the rest of your arrows for the turn get +2. And if you can fire 3 or 4 arrows in one turn somehow, then you're essentially coming in for +6 or +8 with any on hits that you might be delivering. So Rain Razors, absolutely fantastic. Run 2 of these. I did take it out of my CC deck. It's going back in. It's too glorious not to. Seek and Destroy is next. Run 2 of these. This is an ultimate combo for me. I always say it brings the flap to my jack, because Seek and Destroy with Red in the Ledger is the ultimate combination that you want to dominate with. Your next arrow attack this turn gains +3, and if it hits a hero at the beginning of their next end phase, they discard all cards in their hand and destroy all cards in the arsenal. If you can do that with Red in the Ledger, it just absolutely fucking brings that tempo back into your favour. How however many times that combo has pulled it back from me. Remorseless with this, it just forces your opponent to think about using every card that they have, and if they're all actions, they're going to be losing 1 life for every card from Remorseless as well. So Seek and Destroy, absolutely brilliant card. I absolutely love it. It costs 0 as well, so why the fuck not would you want to run this? And it's one of those artworks as well where Azalea's in it. If she's in it, I'm using it. Next up we have Raid the Glide Path. This is another one that you run the reds of. Run 2 of these as well. It is just basically the opt one. It's like Skullbone, except instead of having to flip a card face up from your arsenal, it just gives your next arrow +3, and it has go again. Doesn't cost anything. It's one of those 0 cost buff ups, but it could set up from that opt if you get something nice on top. It could set up a dominate that you really want. Next 2 cards we're going to look at are the 2 laces. First we'll look at Lace with Blood Rot. Your next arrow attack this turn gains +3. Pretty much all the non-attack buff ups are 0 cost, blocks for 2, and it gives +3. When this hits a hero, create a Blood Rot Pox token under their control. So if you can hit this alongside another infecting shot, you're going to be giving them pretty much 4 damage unless they're going to pay 6 for that turn. It is such a nice buff up, because it also gives all your arrows that you use this on an on hit. Other one, Lace with Inertia. This is again running 2 of, and it does the exact same thing except it gives your opponent an inertia, which is like Seek and Destroy, but it's like you being a little bit more kinder to your opponent. Instead of at the end of a turn getting rid of everything into the grave, it goes to the bottom of their deck instead. So, you know, the laces, I like them. I don't know why you wouldn't want to run them. They're a nice combo, but getting Seek and Destroy and Lace with Inertia, that Seek and Destroy just gets nullified. That's the worst combo that I always seem to get. This next card, Deadeye, it's one of the very few that block for 3 and it costs 1. It is a yellow pitch, but this is one of those cards where the aim counter comes in so useful. If the card that has this aim counter on it hits with Deadeye, when this hits a hero, look at their hand and you choose a card to discard. So this can really save your skin, especially against someone who has somehow had, well, what's known as God Hand, has an absolute insane hand. You can get rid of that choking point that is what they don't want to be doing. You can discard anything that they don't really want to, but it has to get the aim counter. If not, it's a nice pitch to load up, you know, say a red in the ledger, or it's just a nice buff up if you can afford it with the resources. So things like Spring Tunic, even Blossom of Spring could come in handy, just using this and give it another +3. It does cost 1 however, but it would be a bit overpowered if they decided this card was a 0 cost. Now we're going to be looking at the generic cards in this deck. The first one, Premeditate, it's got Azalea in it, so I'm going to be running 2 of these, of course. This is one of the fairly new ones from Outsiders. The next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, create a Ponder. Like I've said, I've already explained what a Ponder does, but if you have a go wide turn, you do this. The next attack action card you play from Arsenal this turn gains +3. All your arrows have to come from Arsenal, so again, this is just essentially another +3 on your next arrow. But if you have an E-Strike or a Vav Rabble or something else in your deck list, like Scarf for instance, this gives a +3. It's going to be 7 go again if you can get the right combination going. And then it makes your opponent think about blocking that and then blocking anything else that might come your way. It is really good when you can pop off 3 big hitters in one turn, especially with Rain Razors. But like I say, Premeditate, brilliant card. Next up we have Ravenous Rabble. You want to be running the red ones of these. It costs 0, hits for 5, blocks for 2. It has go again, but like I say, it has 5, but reveal the top card of your deck. Ravenous Rabble gets minus attack, where X attack is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. It gives you a free opt essentially, in a way that if you might reveal something you really want to see, you can, as your next phase after this attack, use your Azalea ability and go into it. You might have something on top from Skullbone that you didn't want to see, put it at the bottom. You use this and you see what else is there. You might want to, you know, Azalea into that instead. But it does set up those go wide turns, and I absolutely love it. Again, you want to run 2 of these. Next up we have Enlightened Strike. You're going to be wanting to run 2 of these. This is a card that's a little bit harder to come by now. I've managed to get myself all 3 for Classic Constructed, but it's a 0 cost, blocks for 3, hits for 5. As an additional cost to play it, you get a card from your hand and put it to the bottom of your deck, and you can choose either draw a card, gains +2, or it has go again. If you choose to go +2 to try and finish your opponent or draw a card, and you still have Snapdragon Scalies, you can use that onto this, and you can set yourself up for even better turns, fixing your hand, whatever. It could use on premeditate, so if you choose go again, and this is played from Arsenal, that's 8 go again on hit ponder. So Enlightened Strike, absolutely brilliant. This next card is in the deck thanks to our co-host from the channel, Kevin, Down and Dirty. I've been running 2 of these. It's a 6 cost 2, like I said, it's the other card that costs 2 in the deck. Blocks for 2, but it's not really in the deck to be used. This card is a 6, so it's a phantasm, and you can defend with it from your arsenal slot. So if you go, say, against Rhino or Keo, and if you use all these barrage and beatdowns or intimidated your hand to have 1 card left, and all of these attacks are coming in for, you know, either 17 if you don't block with 2 non-equipment cards, or it could come in for 5. This can save your skin so many times, and it has done before so many times. It's essentially like a defense reaction, but it is a good phantasm card that you could play from Arsenal without having to give up anything from hand. So these are now in the deck. To finish with, the last card is Oasis Respite, the only generic instant in the deck. It costs 1 and it prevents the next 4 damage that would be dealt to target hero this turn by a source of your choice. If they have less health than each other hero, they may gain 1 life. So it does say the may, so you need to remember to do that in competitive play. I did run 2 of these, but I went down to 1 after I managed to get my hands on a Blossom of Spring. But this card, it is really good against Wizard because you can't really run AB 5 or 4. This card can really save your skin. So I do run only the 1, but it can also block Rosetta Thorn completely for both its physical and arcane damage. And like I say, I only run the 1 in, and I only sided in against the likes of Guardian, who can hit heavy, and Wizard. And that there, ladies and gentlemen, is the deck list. I will leave a link below, and I'll leave the whole list at the end screen right now, as you can see. Please, anyone who likes the looks of this deck, let me know in the comments what you think. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Please let me see any deck lists of your Azalea lists, whether it's Classic Constructed or Blitz, and I will check them out, try them out on Talishar. I might even do it on live stream for you. But again, thank you for watching the video, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you next time.